Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the newest episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast. This is episode 40, and once again, as you can see, I'm on my own again today. But don't worry, we have a special guest host here today. We're going to be talking about some new Star Wars news, as well as got some fun things planned for later on in the podcast. So make sure you stick around and see what's going on. But before all that, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to us here on YouTube. We are inching closer and closer to the 150 subscriber mark that we've been hoping to get. We do appreciate all of you for all the support up until this point. You can also find us on any podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And of course, you could find us on our socials at Hoth Hangout on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course on TikTok. I mentioned this earlier. We do have a special guest host today here. So I would like to introduce my friend, Chris Keller from Top Shelf Breaks. And here he is right now. Chris, what is going on? How are you today?
Hey, Joe. How are you doing, man? Thanks for having me here.
Good, good. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to bringing you on here on to the podcast. So I'm glad we finally got a moment, had a
Yeah,
chance to bring you on. So I hope it's gonna be a fun one. I think it's gonna be a fun episode today.
I love it. Look, all you had me at Star Wars. Let's go.
But let's go. All right. So in news, not a ton of news over the past couple of weeks, but the as we all know, the new Ahsoka series is going to be coming up. Probably in about 6 weeks now. August 23rd is the release date. I did recently find out that the premiere is going to have 2 episodes, so that's always exciting. But some news that we received recently was in an interview with Natasha Liu Bordizzo. I think that's her name. How you say her last name? She is the actress that plays Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka series. She mentioned in an interview that the Ahsoka season basically runs along the same timeline as Mandalorian season 3. This is pretty interesting information. Obviously, with season 3, we find out a lot about the Mandalorians in general. We find out about more about Bo-Katan. We find out more about what happened to a lot of the Mandalorians, and so they're just kind of spread across the universe and different, um, uh, kind of different versions of the Mandalorians. You've got the sect that is very, they continue to wear the helmet the entire time. You have a different set of Mandalorians who feel free to remove their helmet. So we find this dichotomy over in season 3, but now you introduce Sabine into this mix, into the same timeline. Makes it curious what that means, because as you can see in the picture here, if you're watching the YouTube version of the podcast, that she is of the take the helmet off type of Mandalorian. So there may be some crossover, there may not be, but I think it's always interesting when we have 2 shows, 2 pieces of media that run along the same timeline. Chris, what are your thoughts about like having these types of shows basically lend themselves to some crossovers like this?
So they're running concurrently. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, so basically we've got, Mandalorian season 3, which is already done, but the this new season of Ahsoka is basically going to be considered like kind of running alongside of what season
Oh, I
3
see.
of Mandalorian is. So it's
That,
basically, opening it up to possible storylines, right?
that's great. That's good for fan interaction and communication and chatting and podcasts.
That's right.
To kind of keep in line with everything in the direction that things are going. I think that's really cool. Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that's what I mentioned many times here is my favorite is when they start interweaving all of these different things, whether it's movies or books or film or TV shows, that you have the ability to kind of open up stories a little bit more. When you realize, like, when we see, for instance, when we saw Luke come in the Mandalorian, like that's something that you probably never would have thought of 40 years ago when Return of the Jedi came out,
right.
but here we are, where you could just bring in these characters wherever you want, and it'll end up being like a fuller story at the end of it.
Yeah, if they do stuff like that again, I mean, I don't know if they ever reached that crescendo that they did when Luke came in. And I mean, I was freaking out. Everybody was freaking out. So hopefully there's still some magic left in the universe that they can and do some cool things like that. as they're running, side by side storylines and stuff. Man,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly. So we're excited here on the podcast for the new Ahsoka series. But on that note, we move on to a little bit of spoilery type of territory. So we will mark this as a spoiler in the show notes here. But there is a new Lego set that is based off of the Ahsoka series that is coming out, and it has a character named Jason Syndulla. For those who have watched Rebels,
Mhm.
Jason Syndulla is the son of Hera Syndulla and Kanan Jarrus. Kanan Jarrus ends up who we find out is one of the remaining Jedi's after Order 66, with Hera Syndulla, and this is the son that they had towards the end of that series. So not a huge spoiler. You would have thought, there's when we find out that Ahsoka season 1 is basically the continuation of the Rebels series. So that's kind of what we have discovered in the previous podcast we mentioned here. But now we have the son that was born out of Rebels to show up here in the Ahsoka series, possibly with the existence of this character that's in the Lego set. So that's the reach that's what we're assuming because of that. But the one thing that is curious about all of this is that, as you can see and as you know, as Harrison Dula is a Twi'lek, she has like the Likos, and she's got the green skin. And in the Rebels version, Jason Syndulla was kind of more of her species. He had the green skin and all this. But in the Lego set, as you can see, he looks more of a human on the lower left there if you're watching the YouTube version, with the dark hair and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a difference of what we look like going out of Rebels and then going into this Lego set. So been a little bit of talk of exactly how that happens. Sometimes, in TV and movies, they kind of just make these changes and never explain them. I don't know if this is one of those times when they're just going to say, "Yep, that was Jason this entire time," or whatever. But it's curious that they they made this decision on the Lego set, assuming that that's what's going to happen, in the show as well. So again, kind of spoilery because there was no mention of Jason Syndulla being in Ahsoka. But outside of that, you kind of knew that he was going to be, knowing that he was born out of the Rebels series. But this kind of goes into a little bit more of what we'll talk about later, Chris, is our collectibles. How they bring excitement into the fandom, how they bring excitement into series like this. I mean, what are your thoughts of like how they approach this? Kind of going into the Ahsoka series, they know this is going to be in like a month, but they show these images, and I mean, obviously, it's causing buzz. So, do you think they made the right choice in doing so?
It's by design because guys like you guys figure this stuff out.
Right. Yes.
you know and I always found that fascinating that in the Star Wars universe there's just so many things to find out about different characters and where they came
Hmm.
from and their origins. So when they make toys and they make collectibles like this, that's what drives sales because that's going to be one of the figures that people want. I mean, it started back in the day with the mail-in with George Lucas as Stormtrooper, just
Hmm.
something different, and then they put his kids in there. Jet was a figure once, I believe. So anytime they make these variants and they're tying in with the shows that have come out, uh, that's just a good thing, and it's a smart marketing ploy, and it appeals to collectors. Just gives it a little extra excitement to try to go after. So I like when they do that. And who manufactured? Oh, that's a Lego. That's a
That's a
Lego.
Lego. Yeah, that's a Lego set that's coming out.
Okay.
So this is the a couple of the characters that you see here were shown in trailers. The only one we hadn't seen up until this point was the one on the lower left, which was Jason Syndulla. So that was a little bit of a surprise. So if you weren't looking for this information, then you wouldn't have found it. But people are
Yeah,
always
no
scouring
doubt.
the internet for more spoilery type of things. So this is a welcome one for sure.
I like it. That's a good spoiler. Now everyone's going
Absolutely.
to take this information and share it everywhere like they found it.
That's right.
That's okay. They know where they get their Star Wars information from.
Yeah, right here.
That's
Hopefully.
right. Hangout. Hoth Hangout.
Last bit of news here. Not really Star Wars news, but kind of Star Wars news. There was an article. about the Zack Snyder Netflix film named Rebel Moon,
Mm,
which will be coming out in December. Was apparently originally pitched as a Star Wars film shortly after Disney bought out Lucasfilms. So it's interesting because Zack Snyder has had their foot in the DC world. We know everything about the his involvement with with Superman and Batman and there. To know that there was a possibility to have them in Star Wars as well is kind of intriguing to me. It would have been very interesting to see what kind of movie would have made it out. But it sounds like he originally pitched this to Disney or Lucasfilms, shortly again after the sale, and he wanted it to be an R-rated movie. I think that's one thing that came
mm,
out of this particular article. Um, and more interestingly enough is, I mean, he made the film. He ends up making the film, and there are some images out there now that have come out with the film that have the very Star Wars type of feel, but it's but at the same time you kind of know it's not Star Wars, which is kind of crazy. I think we also see it's also kind of named a space opera, just like Star Wars is, and so it has a lot of the feels. Originally, obviously supposed to be part of the Star Wars. Oh, and originally he did not want to mess with any of the existing characters. So at the time of the pitch, probably he's talking about Luke, he's talking about Han, he's talking about Leia and the what they, what was known as the original trilogy, or probably even, even the prequel trilogy at this point as well. So interesting enough, the movie was made. It's it's called Rebel Moon. It'll be out in December. So it's just an interesting, again, comparison of like, we're going to be comparing now this movie to anything Star Wars.
mm.
We're going to wonder, like, would this have a place in the Star Wars world? Chris, what are your thoughts about having a Star Wars movie that's not actually a part of Star Wars?
Mm. I mean, you're that's heading down a slippery slope and a dangerous road, in my personal opinion,
Hmm.
because of Star Wars being the historic franchise that it is, and the lore of Star Wars and everything that comes with it. I mean, okay, in a way, the guy's inspired by it, um, but it just depends. I haven't seen a trailer for it yet or anything. Is there any trailers or anything to look at other than images yet?
Just
No.
some images, yeah. And one of the images kind of made it look like there was a red saber, lightsaber kind of looking thing. So it's definitely taking, I like the word you use, the inspiration from the Star Wars world.
I'm just, if you're asking in general, not a fan of that. Obviously, like you said earlier, he has accolades for everything that he's done in I think it was the DC universe and all those
Mhm.
movies and stuff. But I mean, the real question is, will I go to see it when it comes out? I don't want to go there and feel angry and mad and picking everything apart. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That that's that's what it could turn into. You're sitting there and you're picking everything apart and you're seeing like two, visions of Star Wars and just the feel and the tone of it. And it's not Star Wars.
Right.
So that would probably bug me. So I may have to wait till it comes out, see what the reviews are, maybe watch it on streaming, which nowadays stuff goes streaming
Yeah. And
very
I mean,
quickly.
this is straight to Netflix, so this will be
Oh,
just,
it is.
yeah, it won't be, I don't believe
Okay.
it'll be a movie theater thing. It's going to be on Netflix.
Oh, which a lot is today. I'll say it's hard to get. I haven't even seen the Indiana Jones yet. So,
I haven't
which is
either.
isn't that
That's next
crazy?
on my list for sure.
Not to jump off topic, but that's kind of
Oh no, that's
that
fine.
speaks volumes that you haven't been to see it yet, and I haven't been to see it yet. That
Yeah.
speaks volume about the franchise.
For the record, I did go watch Joyride this weekend, which is
Oh,
a movie that my wife wanted to watch, and I wanted to watch too, but I
mhm.
also wanted to watch Indiana Jones. So I definitely, like I said, it's just right next to, so I just need to find somebody to go
I think
with.
we
If you
still
want
have
to
time.
go, if you want to go, we can go.
Yeah, I think we have time. I'm gonna go. Um, but we do have to get to see that before. I will be mad at myself if I don't get to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
So I know the clock's ticking
There is
nowadays.
something
Getting
about the
around the
movie
clock.
experience though, like you said, and I
Yes.
think you definitely want to go into going to a theater, watching a movie that you feel like you can enjoy.
Yeah.
With something like this, it sounds like to me, like you're saying, is that you're giving it a low bar already. You're kind of already like, this isn't gonna be what I want. As much as fan, and because I know you and I are huge Star Wars fans, and you don't want to go into it thinking like, what is this? And we said it a little bit off air here. this knockoff version of Star Wars, possibly. But who's to say? Who's to say? It's not. Because it's coming to streaming first. It's coming on Netflix. Maybe that's enough for us to be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna throw it on just to kind of see what it looks like.
I know, but could you listen to a full album of Kids Bop? No, you're mad because it's not Michael Jackson and because it's not, you know what I mean? It's like the Kids Bop version of Star Wars.
I
I'm not
wouldn't I
saying
wouldn't
that's gonna bug me.
voluntarily listen to a Kidz Bop
No.
album, but
Okay.
I know what you mean.
But that's a movie full of triggers is what I'm saying if I go to see that. So I'm easily triggered with stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to
All
wait and see.
right. Well, yeah, Zack Snyder film Rebel Moon comes out in the end of the year in December. So we'll see if me and or Chris and or Ben watch that. I'm sure me and Ben will take a look at it and
Yeah,
we'll
you're gonna have to.
dissect it. We'll dissect it
Oh
into
yeah.
Star Wars terms, right?
Mhm. That'll be interesting.
Well, that's the news section of the episode here, but now we could talk a little bit more about the fun stuff, more about your experience with Star Wars and the stories that you have. Quick aside, me and Chris met, oh gosh, a few years back.
Yeah.
Chris,
First job.
well, let me. How about you? You tell us a
Yeah.
little about your first memories of Star Wars
Mhm.
and kind of how it shaped like your fandom to it throughout the years.
Well, you walked in my store one day. It was kind of my first retail location. It's actually the second one overall, but it was the first one that was kind of what I considered a real shop, not inside of a little retail place. And we connected on Star Wars for sure. And
Mhm.
that's how we began our friendship and kept in touch over all these years. So thanks for having me on. This is pretty cool. We actually are
Yes.
doing it. Um, growing up in the 80s, as a child of the 80s, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Spielberg, all of that thing was a very, very, very big part of that generation. Generation X, if I will. Thank you. And my first memories of Star Wars actually are in my room. I can still see it now, Joe. It's crazy. I had my bedroom, I moved up into the upstairs of the house, into the whole upstairs. It was finished up there. And I had a little record player, and I would play a little 45 of the Star Wars theme, the actual original theme, and on the other side was the Cantina song. And I would play that, and I had a 45 called Run Around Sue. Those are the two records that I had at the moment. I had some albums, but I would listen to that over and over and over again. Now, I don't have these awesome, vivid memories and stories like some of these people do of standing in line and being part of that whole man's Chinese theater rush when the Star Wars came out. I don't uh, have memories of that, but Star Wars was in the lexicon of America in the country. And I had the toys. I had all the toys, even though I don't remember seeing the movies. I'm sure I did, but it came out on VHS back then. And my cousin was a big collector, Joe. He was the cousin that had a little bit more than the rest of the families did. So he had
We
all
all
the
have that one.
toys. Yeah, we all had that one, right? Gosh darn you, Jesse. He had all the toys all the time. He had Ewok villages. He would have the big giant battleship from GI Joe. He had all the Transformers. So I would go over and hang out at his place, which families did, all the time, and stay at the cousin's house for the weekend and play with all the Star Wars toys. So for me growing up, that more so than the movies, it was about the pop culture things that came out
Mm,
from the movies that I was attracted to. The toys, watching the cartoons like Droids and the Ewoks and all the Battle for Endor movies and stuff. That's what really are my first early memories of
mhm,
Star Wars. Pretty much collecting.
mhm. What about, like, as far as the movies? Did you have, like, a specific movie that you kinda remembered over others or that you
I do.
watched?
I do. Like I said, I wish I could be like, I remember standing in line for Star Wars when it came out on May 6th or 5th. But I remember Return of the Jedi very distinctly. We were being babysitted in the daytime in the summer, and that one right there, that's it. And I remember walking to the movie theater to go see Return of the Jedi, and just being completely immersed in it, and like, holy crap! All the reveals that came with Jedi. That is one of my first memories. I remember Empire. I think I probably watched Empire on VHS or something at my friend's house, who was the friend that had a little bit more than we had. So they had VHS players and
Always have
Betamax.
one.
Oh, yeah, there's always one. One in your family and one, your friends. So he had the Betamax, he had the VHS, they had all the videos, which back then cost like $150 to buy
Hmm.
a VHS of Star Wars or something. Um, but yeah, just the lore of it and the music. John Williams is really, if I had to pinpoint it, for me, a lot of it is about John Williams
Mm,
and the way that he orchestrates the movies and the scenes, and he has music that actually becomes the theme song of that character. So when you hear it, you know it's going to be about Yoda. When you hear it, you know there's an undertone of something to do with Leia, etc. So he's a genius and he's a master and he's a goat. So maybe it goes back to that little 45 record I had, when I was 7, 8 years old. I don't know, but to this day, I still love the music of Star Wars.
yeah, and I think, this is I didn't think about this until you said that
Mhm.
you had a pretty big history in music as well. I mean, do you think that the start of all that was John Williams, was Star Wars? Do you think that really had an influence kind of going forward with, your career in music?
Well, well, now I didn't think of that until you said that. So,
We
no,
are all these revelations. It's
a very
amazing.
good point. I would boil it down to my music industry career came down to Michael Jackson "Off the Wall" and John Williams in the Star Wars theme song.
There you
Yeah,
go.
quite literally
Because you
inside.
were remind me, were you a DJ? Were you yeah, what was the I know we may go a little off topic here, but I love hearing this story
That
here.
that is my passion in life besides Star Wars and my family is really, the music industry and radio. So when I was a kid, I talked my way into a radio station. Literally, I got my foot in the door one night, and I turned it into an internship at the local radio station. Radio was huge in the '80s. In the '80s, radio was king. That's the only place to get your information from. And, I started out in radio as an intern and just working around the radio station and then worked my way up to on-air DJ.
Mm,
And then I parlayed that after 5, 6 years on air. I got into the other side of the business in promotions for the record
mhm,
companies for Sony Music and Epic Records. But I would
mhm.
always DJ on the weekends at various stations because I just love it. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
I love having this thing right here. If I don't have this, I feel weird. Uh, I feel at home right here.
That's funny that we kinda made that, through line here from
Yes.
that 45 when you were younger to, a music career later on. And you mentioned marketing, and I think this is actually a good time to put this in here as well. I mean, in conversations that you and I have had, Star Wars Celebration was a pretty big deal. I mean, it's always a big deal in the Star Wars world, but you've seen a side of it that many probably have not. You wanna get into a little bit of the story, like, what memories do you have? What
Oh,
the
look at
what
that.
involvement, I guess we'll start with what involvement did you start
Oh,
with the Star Wars celebrations?
no, Joe, you did your homework. I love it. This is great because I don't get to talk to a lot of people about this other than myself. Star Wars Celebration. I feel as though with Star Wars Celebration, I'm trying to kind of come up with an analogy. It kind of probably would have been like if way back in the day you got to go to Eddie Vedder's house and hang out with Pearl Jam after their little local concert, like early in the days. That's how Star Wars Celebration was. So
Mm,
so Ben Stevens owns Official Picks, and back in those days, and when I say that, I mean 2007 was my first Star Wars Celebration. That's the logo right there. Never
mhm,
forget that. And I had just met my now wife, so that tells you how long we've been together. And, I saw an ad because 'cause I'm a Star Wars fan like we all are, and I'm Googling around for this. "Oh my gosh, Star Wars Celebration's coming to Indianapolis. It's a couple hours away. I need to go to this freaking thing because usually you're mad because it's in Florida or California." I'm like, "It's Indianapolis." And, so I signed up to be a volunteer, Joe. They said, "Volunteers wanted." So I filled out all these forms, and I reminded them that I come from the music business, so I'm used to being around signers, celebrities, meet and greets, like, I have experience doing that. So I thought they would like that. So they brought me in 2007, and I remember very, very vividly and distinct. I can still see the little room. It's beside the where you get your tickets and stuff, and behind there's the curtains. And all the volunteers had on orange shirts. This is a red one. So we all had orange shirts on. And Ann Newman comes over to us. She introduces herself. She's pretty much managing everyone. And she said, "I need a volunteer." And nobody budged. Nobody moved. There
mm.
were a bunch of bumps on the log. And I jumped out of my seat. "I'll do it. I don't know what you need, but I am your guy. I will do it." And she goes, "Okay, come with me." So I follow Ann Newman, and she takes me around, and here's the whole, they have these booths, and they're all lined up, like 20 of them in a row. and she takes me to Peter Mayhew's booth, eh,
Wow.
to his table. He's not there. She goes, "Okay, I need you to sit right here. Peter will be here in a few minutes. Him and his wife, Angie, will be here. So you just wait here, kind of guard the stuff until he comes back." And I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." So I sat down at Peter Mayhew's table. And within 5 to 10 minutes, here comes Peter Mayhew walking
Wow.
over. Like this, you got to realize the levity of this and how crazy this is.
Right, yeah.
So Peter walks over. He's super giant. Y'all have probably met him at shows or and things. He is very tall, real. And he sticks his hand out, introduces himself. His hand was giant. I'll never forget. He smelled like cigarettes and coffee because that's all he ever ate and drank and did. And so I was waiting for orders. Like, do I leave? What am I supposed to do? And never came back. So I ended
Mm.
up just sitting with Peter for that day as he signed right here. It was me,
Oh, wow.
at his table, at his booth. So all you do is, they come up, they give you the ticket, you make sure his pens work, you make sure he's, just kind of facilitate the signing with
Mhm.
him. I did that for like 4 or 5 hours sitting there with Peter. And then she would come and we would rotate. And then I would go to the next booth and to the next person's. And back then they paid us. We didn't get paid for every shift you worked, which was about 4 or 5 hours. Every shift you worked, Joe, you got an autograph signed lithograph, they called them. And they were only made for official picks and they were only
Oh,
to be sold or purchased at the celebrations. You had to be destroyed after the celebrations. And I know that for a fact.
really?
I've seen them do it. So they would give us signed lithographs from all the celebrities, from the signers as payment. And so you probably notice you could see me doing this. Most people are like, I'll work a shift and then the rest I'll run around the convention. I was like, I'm going to work from Thursday when the doors open till freaking Sunday at 5 o'clock. That's exactly what I did. So I made myself available. I was constantly learning and working, and then over the years, as the celebrations would happen, I had to go. And then one year I got upgraded to this red shirt, which was a pretty big deal.
Mhm,
I met my buddy Kiawe Santiago, who sadly passed away on February 2019.
mhm,
Kiawe is very missed, and I wear this shirt every time I do a Star Wars podcast or a Star Wars night, or I go to a Star Wars
mhm.
movie or a store convention. So,
Uh-huh.
this kind of I do this in tribute to Kiawe, and he took me under his wing because he had already been doing 2 of them in the prior ones. This was his 3rd, and this was my 1st.
Mhm.
So, the red shirt, we got to spend the whole day with all the celebrities signing, and
Wow.
just it's different today. It's a little bit more
Mm.
corporate-y,
Sure, sure, definitely.
is what I was saying earlier about the Pearl Jam reference. Back then, Ben and Official Picks, they run the entire autograph hall. It's theirs, not Tops, not
Mhm.
corporate, not a bunch of different managers and everything. Ben brought everyone in, and it
Right.
was ours. That was our little world. And then as time went on, things changed with Disney and probably licensing fees and stuff. But they still do things today because Ben built relationships with them in the early days.
Mm, good.
Anthony Daniels and had really good times with Carrie Fisher. Some of my highlights of my career was with Celebration. So I miss it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned, like Anthony Daniels and Carrie Fisher. I mean, do you have any other stories? I mean, I could sit here all day, like, listening to these stories. Do you have, like, anything with Carrie or anything that you could share?
I do, when we worked with Carrie, that was the assignment because I didn't know what our assignments are going to be. You show up, you have a little meeting beforehand, and they assign you. You're going to be here, you're going to be there, you're going to do this and do that. And when they said, Chris, you're going to be with Carrie,
Oh
I
my
kind of,
gosh.
I honestly thought maybe a different Chris, maybe a different Carrie that I don't know about, like an Ugnaught sister or something. I'm going to be, you mean Carrie Fisher? And yeah, you're going to be with Carrie today. So I went to Carrie's booth and just spent the whole day with Carrie. It was a Saturday. It's one of the busiest days at the show.
Mhm,
And, when you hear stories or see her interviews, she really was a gem of a human.
mhm.
Um, she had her dog Gary with her. Then I'd have to go walk her dog. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is too. So I'm walking
That's so
freaking
cool.
Carrie Fisher's dog out back. You know what I mean? Bringing her back.
Nice.
But we would sit there all day, and she was so kind and she was so outgoing to her fans. And she would sign every and anything. She kind of broke the rules. People would bring extra stuff, and she would do it. And she would
Mm,
doodle on the table. There was a like a white piece of paper that rolls out, you know? And she would write on that to get the pens working. She would make doodles. She would write weird things and draw stuff.
mhm.
And I remember thinking, "I'm getting that. I'm totally getting that thing at the end of the day." No one's ripping, putting that in the trash. Well, my friend Mark beat me to it because he was
Ah,
yeah, he was a little higher up on the ladder and he has it, but he kept it and he got it framed and they built really good
oh,
relationships with Carrie over the years and
that's cool.
all those shows. So
Did he have a he didn't have a red shirt, it was a different color shirt then, or
they actually do have they wear a jersey. They had a
Oh,
jersey.
it's a jersey. Oh, I was just joking,
Yeah,
is it really?
yeah, it's a different shirt. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
The
okay.
volunteers wore orange. The floor managers, which I was responsible for the floor overall. I'd walk around the floor and
Yeah,
check stuff on people, and then I'd have my assignment. But yeah, they had jerseys. I never made it to the
nice.
jersey, but
Very cool.
yeah, man.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, the celebration, I was fortunate enough to go in 2019 when it was in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I didn't get I wasn't able to, like, meet and well, I guess I did meet one. I did meet Ahsoka Tano, which,
Mhm.
we know as this is before Rosario Dawson, Ashley Eckstein.
Actually, next time.
So
Her
yeah, so
universe.
yeah, so I was able to meet her,
Mhm.
for just a little picture action
She's
there,
a
and
super
I think
fan
you
lover too, man. She is
yeah,
real.
I think you met her as well, right?
I did.
Is
I took
the
my son. That wasn't celebration that she was at. That was at one of the Wizard World cons or something here in Chicago.
Oh,
There
right, okay.
you go.
Nice.
That's my oldest son, Brixton. Um, Yeah, she's great with the fans. The
Yes.
downside of her personality and her literally loving everyone, she'll cry because 'cause she'll get so excited because people love her so
Yeah.
much. But, I mean, if you're waiting in that line and some of these fans come up
She takes her time with her fans is what you're saying,
does,
right?
and I'm thinking, "I
Yeah,
can't
she
really be
does.
mad, but I'm kinda mad because my son's, like, 10 and he's getting frustrated, and we're hungry, and we forgot to eat,
Yeah,
and they're up there for, like, 20 minutes, it's like, "Come on."
and we maybe for those who aren't watching the YouTube version, there's a picture of Chris and his son, with Ashley Eckstein here in the middle. And it should be also known that Chris is also wearing the same shirt,
I
the red shirt,
that
as he said
Yep,
in the picture
good
as
point.
well. So he's true to his word there.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
hope it comes
and
back. I don't think it's coming back anymore because they're so embedded with Disney now, it's probably hard.
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's probably just hold it over there. I mean, it's going to be in Europe next year, and or in 2 years, I guess. No, no, I'm sorry, Japan. It's going to be in Japan
I heard
in
that Hoth Hangout's giving away a pair
2025, I believe. What was that again? Sorry.
heard Hoth Hangout's giving away a pair of tickets to
Oh,
Japan's Star Wars Celebration.
oh, no, we don't have the budget for that quite yet. We could barely, upload this to YouTube every time.
Let's
I'm just
set some
kidding.
goals. That would be awesome. We'll all go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a write-off, right? I think that's just a write-off. They all
Exactly,
go there.
business.
Yeah. But yeah, with Celebration and, obviously getting to meet, the stars of the shows and the movies and all that, you get to interact with, all of them and other fans and stuff like that. But, these end up being real collectible items in a lot of people's collections, a lot of, um, like, autographs and, this is kind of where your bread and butter is here, is the collectible industry.
Mhm,
um as kind of how much we've mentioned up to this point, but you have a hobby shop right now in Elgin, Illinois,
mhm,
and top shelf breaks, top shelf cards,
mhm.
and you run a YouTube channel to do these breaks. You have all this, so I mean you're heavily ingrained into this collectible industry. What have you seen over the years, um, with the because I know a lot of the sports cards you deal with, but what about the non-sports cards or the non-sports collectibles that you've seen? Whether it's obviously this is a Star Wars podcast, so maybe if you want to talk
Mhm,
a
of
little bit more about the Star Wars, but
course.
in general, like what kind of trends have you seen over the years with the non-sports collectible industry?
I think the non-sports in general I've always liked non-sports because I like Hollywood collectibles, Jaws and movies and stuff like that, and I always felt that the collectibles industry was so focused on helmets and jerseys and the
Hmm.
cards. So there's definitely been a resurgence of the non-sport collectibles over the last 10 years or so, and due in big part to the internet. So
Mm,
everyone knows that the internet opened up a new world to collectors that had all this stuff all along. Like I'm part of Sid and Marty Croft like Facebook groups. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but you can find Facebook groups for anything that you like nowadays.
hmm.
Even down from if it's just Star Wars Funko Pops, maybe it's just Star Wars cards, maybe it's Star Wars replicas like Gentle Giant and stuff.
Hmm.
So that stuff came out into the mainstream thanks to the internet. And I know it has gotten me involved in finding a lot of different things like Gentle Giant collectibles and be able to see what they actually look like and get them. I think they're the best things that are made. So it's definitely good to see that they, you know, have come a long way with the non-sports. It's no longer the stepchild of collecting,
Mm,
because some of this stuff is, worth a lot more than some of these sports items. So
right.
I love it. In wrestling too, WWE and professional wrestling. Thank heavens for the internet because it just opened up the world to everybody. And some of the Funko Pops, um, I thought about getting them here for the shop, but there's so many different ones, Joe, man. And I love them. I do. I really do love them. But they're kind of on the lower end scale price point, and you have to sell a real lot of Funko Pops,
Hmm.
in order to make it worth it. And but I know it brings people in the store and as a collector, but I have to put a lot out to get a whole bunch of them. So
Right.
I carry Funko Pops in here, but I'm very selective about them. And usually they're mine, Sid and Marty Croft ones or Star Wars ones, and people come in and ask how much they are, and they're not for sale. So
Mm,
then they get mad
right.
at me.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, that one of the big things that got me to kind of return to collecting was Star Wars, obviously, and
Mhm.
and in fact, one of the first things I bought at your shop was was a Star Wars masterpiece. What is it called?
Oh, you loved your Masterworks.
The Masterworks. Yes, the
Yes, sir.
Masterworks. I got like a mini box from there or something
Yeah, I
like that.
remember that.
So, and I think that honestly, that might have been my first. That might have been my first Star Wars trading card purchase ever.
Really?
Was there.
You did love your Masterwork. You would get into breaks. I mean, that's when they were
Yeah.
like $35 for a mini box or something.
Yeah, yeah. They are not that cheap anymore.
Nope.
That's that's what, that's what I've noticed as far as the trends go, especially during the pandemic. There was a huge resurgence in not only just basically anything trading card related, whether it's sports cards, non-sports cards, Pokemon cards. There was just a huge demand for all of that during that time. How was it navigating through that time? I know your shop was closed, and but you still were able to kind of stay afloat. What were some of the things that you needed to do to make sure you were continue to be successful throughout the pandemic?
I mean, I've said this before in ways I honestly, truly would give it all back if we could never have had to go through what the world went through with that pandemic.
Mhm,
Um, because for us, and when I say us, I mean online, hosts, podcasters, breakers, opening up cards on YouTube and stuff. Our business, like, I can't even think of the number, how it quadrupled, five
mhm.
dupled, whatever it was, because of the demand for all the products.
Right.
So I kept the shop open per the Illinois rules. They didn't say you have to be closed. They did for a while, but I kept the store open. You want to come in here? Come in here. Me and Tommy are here. We're going to be here. But there wasn't a lot of people coming in. So
Mhm,
basically, we were online doing breaks. And what was carrying that was definitely the football and the rookie class.
mm.
But Star Wars products were still being released. We put up
Yes.
Star Wars products to break, and just people wanted something to do. We needed something to take our mind off this crap. We needed
Yeah.
to escape the fear and all that stuff. And so you saw a resurgence,
Mhm.
which did drive the prices up,
Yeah.
you know. But everyone was going,
I spent many a night in your chat.
and you still do, and I love that.
That's right, yeah. That's great.
You're always
Well,
coming in before I go get my salty fries.
yeah, I just gotta make sure that you remember to get it. Either that or your Illuminati's pizza.
Yes, sir.
But with that, yeah, I mean, this is great. I mean, I think it's only appropriate now that us talking about sports cards or cards in general and Star Wars that we do an opening right here. What do you say?
I'm all for that. What you got?
What do I have?
What do you?
So this will be fun. We've got so for those on the YouTube channel here that we do have a little small box here of Star Wars Topps Chrome. This is relatively new product. I think it came out maybe a month ago, a month and a half ago, something like that. I can't remember exactly when, but yeah, I haven't opened up a Star Wars box in a while, and I definitely haven't opened anything on video in a long time as well. So this is my audition to Chris to
Yeah.
hire me on staff over at Top Shelf Breaks here. So let's take a look here what we can get here.
Wait, get my
So sit back. This is yeah.
yeah,
Normally we're in different spots. Normally Chris is the one that's opening, and I'm the one that's watching. So let's see what we get
go.
here. If I could even open this up. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my goodness, there we go.
I can't even do this. How do you do this
Oh,
every night?
you don't have a cutter?
I don't have a cutter. Look how rookie I am at this. Holy
Use
cow!
your teeth. Use your teeth.
Do you use the teeth? Oh, no, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Look,
Pop it.
pop it. Oh my god, this is okay. There you go. I just ruined this box, though. That's okay though.
And that means you're gonna get a one-on-one superfractor in
Can you
there.
imagine? Yeah, here we go.
Yes, I can.
This would be great. On a retail box, that'd be even crazier. So I think this comes with, is it 6 packs? Oh no, this looks like a lot of packs actually. Oh, look at all those packs. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be
Yes.
longer than I thought, Gibbo. My bad.
We're doing good,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least on my clock.
So I'll do like Chris does. So what do you like to do? You like to open a couple and then kind of stack them for a little bit?
Yeah, I do open a few packs. I've always
Yeah.
had paranoia from the early days where, there were so many scammers around. You know, you think there's a lot today. The early days of
Mhm.
breaking, I didn't wanna put too many cards on the table in case the internet went out or the camera went off, and then
Oh,
everybody
I see what you're saying.
was open packs. So I
Yeah.
used to
So
do them like kinda one at a time,
yeah,
but
yeah, I see.
now I gotta do
Well, since
everything.
these are all mine, we should be fine
Yeah,
either
and
way.
they're yours. You can do whatever the
Yeah,
heck you
yeah.
want.
We can do whatever we want. So I think I opened up, what is that, 5? We'll do 5 packs. I think maybe there are 10 total here.
What are those
This is
little
the
things
first time
called in the
first
background?
time I've looked at first time I've looked at these cards, so I don't even know what the base set even looks like. So let's take a look
Well,
here.
I'll tell you about this chrome. I don't know if you notice it or not, but it doesn't feel as chromy to me. It feels, it's not as sharp, the photos, maybe?
I see.
Does it feel chromy to you? Or is
I
it a
mean, it's for
different
the mo
type of stock?
I
A little bit.
it feels I feel like the stock is a little bit different. I could see
A
that.
little different. It's a little plasticky or something.
Yeah, yeah, right. So we
Who
got
that?
some
Who's that, boss?
animated series people. We have some sequels. Oh, we have a little bit of array here. Always a good pull. Looks like this is kind of a refractor looking thing of Grogu,
They're right, like,
but you could barely even see Grogu. He's like all the way. He's like the smallest thing in there.
yeah, some of the imagery on it is
Yeah,
it doesn't it's I
I do
mean,
like this.
Chrome
I do
Galaxy
like
is
this.
incredible.
I do like this Vader one with the broken helmet here. That's pretty cool. From the Kenobi series.
Oh, yeah. They do one season of that?
Yes, the Kenobi series is it'll
Only
be
one.
one series. One season. Yes, we got the Mando here. Got the Mandalorian here.
This is the way, my friend.
Grand Inquisitor. We got Lando, my favorite
My
Star
favorite.
Wars character of all time, by the way.
Mm,
Jar Jar Binks, everyone's favorite.
my favorite character. Can't
Looks like
shoot you.
another Grogu. Is there like a maybe there's like a Grogu insert set or something? You see the refractor version here,
That is probably a refractor.
and a purple. Looks like a purple Grief Karga. I believe these are one per blaster box like this too. So pretty cool. I don't know if it's numbered. It is not numbered.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, pretty cool. Did I miss anything? No, yeah, just those 2 refractors of
Gonna be a
the
super
Grogu
frac.
inserts. All right, super fractor incoming. You calling
Yes.
it?
It happens in blaster boxes nowadays. They started putting a
That's
lot more
crazy
stuff.
that they put them in. Yeah, so talk a little bit about like retail versus hobby and like what the
Yeah,
what it means.
retail's a lower price point. Retail does not guarantee any autographs or even numbered cards. So the hobby product, as it's called, will have guaranteed autographs. Like if that was a hobby box, it would say 1 autograph per box or 2,
Right.
depending. You know, as you get more, the price goes up.
Right. Yeah.
And which I'm all for retail boxes or blasters as they call them because it does allow people, you know, when you're out with the kids grocery shopping and they want something, you can buy a blaster box for them. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's a different price point. They do have their like you showed that purple one, so that's probably retail only. So the only place to get the purple ones are probably in
Hmm.
the retail box. That's usually
Right.
how they do it.
And normally the retail boxes are available at like a Target or Walmart,
Yeah,
Barnes and Noble, things like that. Where the hobby boxes are more the standard brick
hobby
and
shop.
mortar hobby shops, like the
Yeah,
ones that you own, right?
that is correct.
All right, let's go into this one. Got another Grogu. refractor here.
Oh.
Love the Grogu. And as you can see, this set has all Star Wars. We got something from Solo. We
Mm-hmm.
got something from Rogue
The
One.
Solo
Got something
universe.
from Resistance, the animated series. So it is all inclusive of every Star Wars there is. Oh, this is cool.
It's an art one?
Yeah, it looks like an art one. It's not a sketch, but this is a very
No,
cool
but that's
one.
from Chrome Galaxies, probably.
Oh,
Or
this is the Chrome Galaxy. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at this one.
Chrome Galaxy is a really, really good set. Star Wars fans watching, if you want to get a really good Chrome set, go check out any of the Star Wars Galaxy Chrome.
Very cool.
That is
Mango Madness is
the
the
best.
name of that one. Bail Organa.
I mean, the
We got
manga's amazing.
Chewie. We got Chewie. Peter Mayhem. Got another Grogu. Looks like insert with the refractor on it. Yeah. So like I said, this project is nice because it encompasses all things Star Wars. Oh, look at this. We got looks like a refractor of Ahsoka Tano here.
Great.
Monikers. Looks like an insert set maybe.
Monikers, what's her nickname?
Hers
Small.
is Snips.
Oh, Snips. What I say?
Snips,
Small
yes.
Snips.
Smalls. No, that is Sandlot.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Snips. I
Snips.
love it.
So very cool.
Cool. Don't remember seeing that card.
And then another purple looks like retail, possibly retail exclusive of Tam Rivora, also from the Resistance animated series. Sorry for that shine there.
The
But yeah,
fun part about Joe is when I'm doing my Star Wars breaks at night, he will come in, and I do not know every character, especially kind of some extraneous characters, but he always knows, man. He's like, "No, that's
this
so
is
and
true.
so from this, that," and he helps me out when
This is
there's
true.
something I don't know, which I love.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, so here's some of the hits here. Pretty cool. I think the Ahsoka one is my favorite one. The monikers with the snips. I don't know if there's any other Ahsoka card that has like snips on there, so that's pretty cool.
Tell me one
Very
other
cool card.
Star Wars character that would have a moniker card that you could think of that would be cool.
Like a nickname like that?
Yeah, what would you think?
Uh, who would? It's not a nickname, but it would be Han versus Han with Lando. But I don't know
Okay,
how you
yeah,
would do that.
yep. I mean, I'm
I
really
love.
trying to think who else, what other nicknames
Yeah,
could there
who would even have one? I mean, it would be the other side of that would be Anakin, because Ahsoka used to call Anakin Sky Guy, so
Oh,
that would probably be one as well if I had to assume one.
good job.
But yeah, there is the box break of the Star Wars Chrome. Hope you all enjoyed it. But before I mentioned earlier on that we have maybe a little bit another that was pretty fun, but I think we have one more fun thing planned. Chris, what do you say?
We do. We do. This promotion. Want me to show it or?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this. This is a box of Star Wars Signature Series. There's one autographed card in here, encased. So that means it's in the hard plastic holder. We don't know who it is. We want somebody really good in here. I'm going to put this on the website at topshelfbreaks.com. So you're going to go to the website. It's free to enter. I'm going to pick a winner live, probably Saturday night.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll do it on Saturday night. Pick the winner after you watch this podcast. And it's free to enter. I'm also going to put in a Galaxy pack or two. I'll load up stuff. You'll see. The information will be there at topshelfbreaks.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, for something fun for the viewers and the
Of
listeners
course.
of the Hoth Hangout. It's going to be hopefully we get something huge out of that. That would be the best thing. Maybe we get Anakin autograph. Maybe we get something like that. So or
Oh, yeah.
Obi-Wan autograph, something like that.
These could be Harrison Ford's or
Yeah, it could be
so
any of
forth.
those. Yeah,
That'd be cool if
very
whoever
exciting.
wins it says, go ahead and open it up live on the stream so we can actually
Yes,
see which one it is.
that would be very
And I'm
cool.
not going to switch these up. It's going to be this box.
All right,
Okay.
excellent. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Top Shelf Breaks, for that. Truly
Yeah, man.
appreciate it. All right. Well, I think we
You're
call it
off.
here with the fun episode here with our friend Chris Keller from Top Shelf Breaks. Um, yeah, this was a fun time. I hope you had a good time. Where can we find Top Shelf Breaks on you on the internet here?
On Twitter, it's at Top Shelf Breaks. On Instagram, it is at Top Shelf Breaks. And Twitter also Top Shelf Cards 22, which is the shop Twitter. And on Facebook, You can just Google Top Shelf Sports Cards Elgin or Top
Nice.
Shelf Cards on the Facebook.
Sounds good.
I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
No,
Not
I'm
quite.
not.
That's all right. Well, thank you, Chris, for everything here today. Once again, if you have not done so, please subscribe to us here on our YouTube channel. You can follow us. Oh, wait, sorry, Ben. That is right, Gibbo. I skipped a thing.
What?
Next week, our friend Ben finally returns. The
Yes.
return of Ben. So he's been gone for a few weeks now. So we are excited to have him back and talking all the Star Wars with him. So we will be back next week with our friend Ben. So make sure you are here so you could hear about his trips and all things Star Wars here coming
Oh,
up.
he's gonna have a lot to talk about, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm
Before
excited.
that.
Yeah, get ready, Gibbo, for a 2-hour episode. Just saying. Okay. But what I was saying earlier, thank you all again for coming in and watching the 40th episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, we are getting closer to 150 subscribers there. You could also follow us on our any podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And you can also, of course, follow us on any socials at Hoth Hangout on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. So again, thank you, Gibbo. Thank you, Chris. Any parting words, Chris, before we call it an episode?
Thank you very much. I mean this, Joe. I really, really had fun. I really do appreciate the invite here. And it is a pleasure to chat on here with you. And you got a great producer, and you guys got a wonderful podcast. And I feel your viewership's going to increase because you got a good one here. We're going to push it. We're going to market it. This is the place to be for all your Star Wars news. Hoth Hangout.
Well, he said it better than I could ever say it. But thank you again, Chris. Thank you, Gibbo. And thank you for everyone for all the support here on the Hoth Hangout podcast. And may the Force be with you.